April 17th, 2021. Windsor Castle. Only 30 people sit inside St. George's Chapel. Not because of etiquette, because of a pandemic. The Queen sits alone, dressed in black, a mask on her face. The coffin of her husband before her. Prince Philip is dead. 99 years old. Almost a century of life, reduced to a short list of names. And on this list stand three men most viewers do not know. Bernhard, hereditary Prince of Baden. Donatus, Landgrave of Hesse. Philipp, Prince of Hohenlohe-Langenburg. German aristocrats. Relatives from the half of Philip's family kept away from Westminster Abbey in 1947. Back then, they were not allowed to come. Now they sit in the front row of history. But why? June 10th, 1921. Corfu. Philip is born at the Mon Repos villa, a prince of Greece and Denmark. His mother is Princess Alice of Battenberg. His father is Prince Andrew of Greece. He has four older sisters: Margarita, Theodora, Cecilie, Sophie. For a brief moment, it is a dynastic family out of old Europe. Then that Europe collapses. In 1922, a military crisis shakes Greece. King Constantine I, Philip's uncle, is forced to abdicate. Philip's father is arrested, tried, and banished. In December 1922, the British warship HMS Calypso evacuates the family from Corfu. Philip is 18 months old. The story is told that he was carried aboard in an orange crate. Whether precise memory or grown legend, the image remains. A prince who does not leave his first home. He is carried out. Exile is not the end. It is the beginning of his uprooting. In Paris, the family lives on the charity of relatives. The father drifts away. The mother becomes severely mentally ill. In 1930, Alice is placed in a clinic in Switzerland. Philip is 9. His mother disappears. His father soon lives mostly on the French Riviera. His sisters marry and move to Germany. One child is left behind. Later, Philip will say plainly that the family simply broke apart. One had to carry on. But the calm in that sentence is deceptive. It is a door closing. Between 1930 and 1931, Philip's four sisters marry into German noble houses. Sophie marries Prince Christoph of Hesse at 16. Margarita marries Gottfried, Prince of Hohenlohe-Langenburg. Theodora marries Berthold, Margrave of Baden. Cecilie marries Georg Donatus, hereditary Grand Duke of Hesse. On paper, these are old dynastic alliances, related houses, shared ancestry. But Germany is changing faster than these families can grasp. In 1933, Adolf Hitler becomes chancellor. Suddenly, Philip's sisters are no longer simply married princesses in Germany. They live inside the reach of a regime that will drag Europe into the abyss. Theodora's case is different. Her husband Berthold is close to the educator Kurt Hahn, the man persecuted by the Nazis who later founds Gordonstown in Scotland. The school that will shape Philip. In the other branches, the proximity turns darker. Gottfried of Hohenlohe-Langenburg is already a Nazi party member by 1931. Margarita and her husband joined the party together in 1937. Cecilie and Georg Donatus join on May 1st, 1937. Christoph of Hesse joins the Nazi Party in secret in 1931, the SS in 1932, and the party publicly in 1933. He soon works in the Reich Air Ministry, in the circle around Hermann Göring. Sophie herself does not join the party. but she and her husband meet Hitler in person. In 1931 or 1932, in their own Berlin apartment. Decades later, she writes in a private memoir. She and Christoph had been impressed by Hitler. By his manner, by his apparent modesty, by his promises for Germany. Only years later, she writes, did they fundamentally change their political view. That is not a footnote. It is a moral earthquake. While Sophie sits in rooms where Hitler and Göring move, her brother grows up in British schools and eventually joins the Royal Navy. And then comes the event Philip will never truly let go of. November 16th, 1937. Cecilia is 8 months pregnant. She boards a Sabena aircraft with her husband, Georg Donatus, their 2 older sons, her mother-in-law, and other companions. Destination: London, the wedding of her brother-in-law. A heavy fog lies over Belgium. The plane tries to land at Ostend. It clips a factory chimney. It crashes. It burns. All 11 on board die. A Belgian inquiry will conclude that Cecilia gave birth during the flight. Most likely the reason the pilot tried to land at all, in that weather. Cecilia is 26. Philip is 16. On November 23, 1937, he stands in Darmstadt at his sister's grave. It is private grief, inside a state that uses every stage. Swastikas in the streets, uniforms. Hitler salutes. A boy walks behind his sister's coffin, and around him marches the future he will soon fight against. The image is dangerous because it can be misread. It does not show Philip as a perpetrator. It shows him as a witness. But sometimes, a single photograph is enough to demand a lifetime of explanations. Then comes the war. The old Europe these marriages built tears itself apart for good. Philip serves on the British side. In 1941, he takes part in the Battle of Cape Matapan. He is mentioned in dispatches. His brothers-in-law serve inside German structures. Christoph of Hesse, SS officer, dies in 1943 in a plane crash in Italy. Gottfried of Hohenlohe-Langenburg fights on the Eastern Front, is wounded, and is dismissed from the Wehrmacht in 1944 after the assassination attempt on Hitler. A brother fights against the system his sisters live in. This is no longer a family conflict. This is world history at the dinner table. And there is Alice. Philip's mother, long described as religious, difficult, and eccentric, lives in Athens during the German occupation. The city is dangerous. The Gestapo is present. Jews are hunted. In 1943, after the German takeover in Athens, Alice hides the widow Rachel Cohen and 2 of her children in her home. When the Gestapo grows suspicious and questions her, her deafness helps. She pretends not to understand, until the men give up. The Cohens survive. In 1993, Alice is honored by Yad Vashem as righteous among the nations. A year later, Philip travels with his sister Sophie to Jerusalem and plants a tree in her name. Here lies the entire contradiction of this family in a single image. A mother hiding Jews from the Nazis. Her daughters married to German aristocrats, several of them tied to the regime. Her son fighting for Great Britain. But before this son can become the husband of a future queen, the past has to disappear. November 20th, 1947. Westminster Abbey. Princess Elizabeth marries Philip Mountbatten. The wedding becomes the symbol of a country trying to recover its dignity after the war. But Britain is still raw. Food is rationed. Cities are bombed flat. Families are in mourning. German names are not neutral. So the decision is made. Philip's German sisters will not come. Margarita, Theodora, and Sophie stay away. Cecilia has been dead for 10 years. Officially, it is politically understandable. Publicly, it would have been almost impossible to seat German aristocrats with Nazi ties inside the Abbey, 2 years after the war. Sophie is later said to have remarked bitterly that cousins from former Axis countries had been invited, and she and her sisters had not. Privately, it is a cut. Philip has already given up his Greek and Danish titles. He has become a British subject. He carries the name Mountbatten. He adapts. But the final price is not a title. The final price is silence. His mother, Alice, is allowed to come. His sisters are not. The groom stands at the altar without family, not because he has none, but because part of that family has become politically unshowable. In 1953, at Elizabeth's coronation, Philip's sisters move closer to the edge of the official picture again. The exile loosens, not with explanation, not with reckoning, quietly. Theodora stays close to Philip. Margarita becomes godmother to Princess Anne. Sophie, who once met Hitler, later becomes godmother to Prince Edward. The history is not erased. It is sorted. Alice dies in 1969 at Buckingham Palace. Theodora the same year. Margarita in 1981. Sophie in 2001. Philip outlives them all. And then, in 2021, his own farewell. A pandemic cuts the funeral down to 30 people. A family that usually fills cathedrals has to choose. And on that short list are the German relatives: Bernhard, Donatus, Philip, at Philip's express wish. The line kept out in 1947 sits in the front row in 2021. Not as a scandal, not as an explanation, as family. Some things that were silenced were never forgotten. They only waited until no one spoke against them anymore.